Hi everyone, it's TV Girl from The Voice of TV, and today I'm going to be reviewing the latest Revolution episode, No Quarter. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm still giving this show a chance, but I keep becoming more and more disappointed. The premise of the show had so much promise, and it probably looked great on paper when Eric Kripke, the creator of Supernatural, brought it to J.J. Abrams. But so far it hasn't translated so well. It's very Lost-esque. It even has the eerie absence of a theme song like Lost, and a lot of mystery surrounding technology, the unknown, and even has Lost actors in it. But it's not even close as far as its ability to make me empathize with the characters, care about them, build tension. So far, it's just not relatable, not interesting, and tedious. I'm not saying that it doesn't have its bright moments at all, because it does, but so far it's definitely not anything close to what I was hoping for. It's just so frustrating because the premise of the show is so promising. Losing all the power, post-apocalyptic world, a show produced by Mr. J.J. Abrams himself, regardless of maybe the failures he's had. A story and characters and cast that look great on paper, but it just doesn't turn out like it should. And I think the problem with this show is a mixture of poor writing, bad fight scenes, characters I don't relate to, care about, so poor character development, and maybe some bad casting and dialogue. I know that I picked on Charlie, played by Tracy Spiridakos. Sorry if I said that wrong last week. But I focus on her a lot because the writers have singled her out as their promising breakout star, and the story's really about her. But so far, Charlie is still just a whiny, cliched teenager. Her brother Danny, who I keep forgetting even exists, is like her male twin, and the bickering between Charlie and Miles is just getting old. We get it, Charlie is emotional but also partially badass, like her mother and like Miles, a familial trait. She's supposed to be this awesome enigma, but to me it's just very one-dimensional. Also, I don't feel anything about Nora. Her story about her unborn son being the guy just didn't do it for me. Not to be cold, it just felt contrived and I saw it coming. I didn't really think it was going to be a love interest. Also, Nick the Priest, very not interesting. Struggle for me to remember characters' names in this show, and if a show is good, I don't have a problem remembering the characters' names, ever. Even if there's a ton of them. I like the addition of Mike Pellegrino, who you might know as Jacob from Lost, or if that just triggered it for you. He plays Jeremy. He's the one that attacked the rebels. He's pretty funny, he's witty, he's interesting, he brightens up the cast a little bit. Giancarlo Esposito as Tom Neville is also great, but he's so removed from everyone else at the moment, he's not really prevalent right now. So Jeremy, good thing. Although I predicted how the backstory would end this episode, which once again, the backstories are way more interesting than the present or future, however you want to put it. The whole point of the Sebastian and Miles story was to see how they met Jeremy, since Jeremy obviously was very familiar with Miles. I thought it was a neat twist. I look forward to more of the backstories and how the three of them developed their relationship and how the Monroe Militia came to be. Sort of surprisingly, there was no Rachel this week, although we found out that she was alive just last week. Like I said before, I figured it could take at least until the end of the season or longer to really piece things together with her and everything else. I think the writers will move really, really slowly on that to build suspense. Last week, they made this super big deal about what side of the revolution is Miles really on. And I don't think anyone actually believed Miles to really turn on his family or something. Although that would have been a really brave and weird twist. I would have respected that. But instead, everyone, all the characters are shocked and bothered and appalled, which is pretty anticlimactic because we basically already know this. It's no surprise. We knew he was friends with Sebastian from the beginning of the series, and the backlash and distraught from Charlie was more than predictable. Last week I was right about this week, Aaron and Maggie finding Rose's house. Even though I thought they'd find her dead, apparently Randall took her away. I was right about how they would mess around with the technology equipment and probably find something because Aaron is tech savvy. In this case, they realized that the pendant has something to do with electricity because very briefly they listened to Marvin Gaye and Maggie saw her kids on her iPhone, but it was really brief. So Aaron really, his tech-savvy skills didn't really come into play, actually. I was wrong about that part. I don't mind the interactions between Aaron and Maggie. I think they work together well, although next week it looks like we'll be back together with the group, which might make the group better. Oh, and also next time on Revolution, it looks like they don't trust the others to tell them about the pendant, apparently. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out. Once again, the aesthetics of the show aren't bad, even though the fight scenes are always a bit hokey. I thought the explosion on the bridge, though, was pretty neat, although once again, easy to see that one coming. And no one expected Charlie to stay where Miles asked her to. Come on. Oh, and the sniper rifle. Very neat. I like sniper rifles. So Revolution, step it up. More Rachel, more Captain Tom Neville, less bickering between Charlie and Miles, less angst, more Jeremy, more backstories. It's still possible to turn this into something good. I'll be waiting for it, because the writers have alluded, at least in my opinion, to the fact that the show may grow over time. So I haven't given up hope quite yet, although it's looking not so great. As far as unanswered questions go, the really big one is, obviously, if you saw next time on Revolution, is who's going to die in the next episode. Do we care? Hopefully it's Danny. Never mind, that's awful. I'm just kidding. They showed Charlie being tied up like it may be her, but, I mean, we know better. She's the main character. So I really doubt it's going to be Miles, Charlie, Danny, Maggie, Aaron, Rachel, Tom, Jeremy, Sebastian, Nate. It'll probably be Nick or Nora, because we don't really know them. That loss won't hit us very hard, and they're not that interesting. Also, where's Nate and Rachel? What's going on there? The show felt a little empty without addressing Rachel's plight. I really wanted to see a follow-up to that. I think even though they do want to drag out the series, I mean, the mystery, I think that it would have been a good episode to address that. It really would have been, especially when the show has been lagging. Also, next time on Revolution reveals that someone has been following Miles and Co. all along. Who is it? Any predictions? I don't really know. Is it a new character? Is it Nate? What happened to Nate? And why don't Maggie and Aaron trust the others enough to tell them about the pendant? Did Ben tell Aaron to keep it to himself? There must be a reason it was given to Aaron specifically and why he hasn't told anyone about it. Well, of course, you know, Aaron's probably the most tech-savvy guy. He worked at Google. But that still doesn't exactly answer why he's so secretive about it from the others. Or is he just being cautious? Does he not trust Miles? And then we have the typical series or season-long questions that we probably won't have answers to for a very long time. How exactly does the pendant work? Why is Rachel alive? What's being done with her? Should the power be turned on? Will it be turned on? Etc., etc. When's Danny going to get saved? I mean, that could be next episode for all we know. I'm giving this episode a C-. Really was a little bored. Character development has just been terrible. And although I like the addition of Jeremy, it wasn't enough to make up for the rest of the episode. It's not brave enough. It's not gritty enough. It's not strong enough. We need to see more. I want to feel more scared when I'm watching a post-apocalyptic show. I want to feel like I'm playing Fallout. I don't want it to feel so not scary. It wants to be like Lost, but it can't be. But it is making me want to rewatch Lost, I'll say that. Anyway, see you next week for the next review on Revolution, and don't forget to check out my other reviews on Sons of Anarchy, Boardwalk Empire, Homeland, and more. Alright, TV Girl from Voice of TV out. See you later.